So let's talk about microeconomics. It's a microeconomic lesson, and I will talk about what I have learned from the MIT online courses. And it's a kind of notes that I'm gonna to talk about the key points, the key takeaways of these courses. Okay, so lecture one. So the topic is this video is stick to demand, and later we are talking about producer or some market structure, but this this video is focused on demand. Okay, so let's start. The lecture one, the professor just talk about the big picture of microeconomics and how to study or some key models like demand and supply model. Okay, so the key takeaway of this is positive and normative analysis. Let's add two different types of analysis to an economic question or some or more general analyze system. So the positive the positive analysis study of the way things are, like just like a demand and supply curve, we derive it, we find the tangent. That's more about positive analysis. And on the other hand, a normative analysis is study of the ways things should be. It's more about welfare economics, whether the society, government should trade off the equality and the efficiency. So that's two different types of analysis. Okay, so let's talk about our today's today's topic is demand. So here's quick review. That is law of supply, very intuitive. The price goes higher, the supply goes higher, and it's a same for demand. If the price is higher, the demand will be lower because all the consumers want to pay less. So there are different types of markets. For example, this graph is perfectly elastic demand, which is the consumers are very sensitive to the prices. So even if the price increase, the suppliers um the suppliers will gain zero profit because the consumers have other suppliers to choose. Okay, and on the other hand, is perfectly inelastic demand, which is consumer uh care nothing about the price, even the price is very high. In this case, it's more like in this markets, it's more like the consumer can't easy to find the good substitution, like insulin, for example. The diabetes couldn't find something to substitute insulin because it's a inevitable medicine for them. So in this case, the suppliers can set a higher price than the diabetes should buy them, or they are going to die. So yeah, that is a perfectly inelastic demand. So yeah, when an item is essential, yeah, can't easily find a substitution. Okay, so the lecture two is we're now going to talk about the part of demand. First, the demand is more about utility. The consumer cares about utility, care cares about utility, not only prices of money, but also the happiness like that, the the sense of achievement like that, all the aggregate thing is called the utility, and it's different from everybody, so that's different willingness to pay or something. So let's take a quick review. Quick review. Preferences matter, so we assumptions the three um attributes of preferences. First is completeness and transitivity, and the most important is non-satiation. That means more is better. If you even if you got like shoes, you get a lot of shoes, but you don't need them. But you get a lot of shoes, you can just sell it. So more is always better. That's true. Okay. So let's talk about indifferent curve. Its preference maps and yeah have properties, but the most important is downward sloping, or if it not a concave curve, then violate the non-satiation assumption we just talked about. More is better. Okay, so here is example in the same index curve A and B. The consumers are indifferent of those the two items, but C consumer get a higher utility. So the utility function is a way of comparing bundles. Yeah, two pizza, one cookie bundle. It's a bundle. Two pizza, two cookies also as a bundle. So the key concept of this is marginal utility. It's derivative of utility with respect to goods of interest. And we assume that diminishing marginal utility for goods. It's how much more utility or happiness or something the next good gets. That means you pay for another good and how much you got utility from that. And we have indifference curve is maps our preferences. So the marginal rate of substitution, also called MRS, is the slope of indifference curve. It's equals to dp over dc, and it's minus negative. It's negative because the indifference curve always downward sloping. It's negative. The marginal utility of cookie, you want to trade cookie, and you need to derive by marginal utility of pizza is a slope. That means the slope is a number. So this number is represents how much pizza you are willing to sacrifice. Let's assume the slope is -2. That means you are willing to give up 2 pizzas to get one more cookie. So the slope is 2 because the marginal utility is 1. The marginal utility of pizza is 1, and the marginal utility of cookie is 2. So you are willing to give up 2 pizza for one cookie. That's a same amount of that's a same amount of utility. Okay. So here is now we have two graphs which shows our assume that diminish marginal utility of goods. So y-axis utility and the x-axis cookies. So as cookies you consume more cookies, the slope is going to flat. So marginal to your marginal utility actually diminishing. That is okay. So it's lecture 2. Some kind of utility function and the indifferent curve. MRS is matters. MRS is very important. And the recitation here is how to derive it. Very simple. Just do some maths, maths, and we have different types of utility function. This is just a square root of pizza and cookie. Do we have like x plus 5 times 1? If MR, so that's basically the um it's the cookie and the pizza gives you the same amount of utility. It's the same units. Their units are the same. Not here, not here, not here, not here. They contribute a different amount of units, but regardless, it's the same. So MRS equals to negative 1/5. That means that means you're willing to give up you're willing to give up 1/5 of pizza to get one more cookie. Yeah, because it's 5 times y, so marginal utility of y is 5 times of the marginal utility of cookies. And we also have this kind of curve that is let's assume x-axis is a shoe, right shoes. So given a certain amount of right shoes, whether you have more left shoes, it doesn't matter because you because even if you have a 100 left shoes, you only have a pair of shoes. So your utility actually didn't increases. So that's why I write it is violate strict non-situation. Okay. Lecture 3, we're going to talk about budget constraint. The preferences, the indifferent curve is very ideal because in this case we don't give a limited about we don't give a limited about a certain amount of money. So here we got a budget constraint. So we assumed that total consumption equals to y, and y is your income. We can derive the budget constraint line, which is y equals to the price of pizza times pizza and plus the price of cookies times cookie. So it's a downward sloping. Yeah, the slope is the price ratio. So and the marginal rate of transformation is MRT. Um, it represents how much a markets let you trade a goods for another. The price ratio because price is dependent on market. It's all aggregate consumers depending on which prices I'm willing to get. But so MRT is market tells you the ratio to trade, and the MRS is your willingness to trade. That's a difference. Okay. So opportunity set is options for combination of goods, and just like a bundle, decreases with increase in price or decrease income. Just like a right hand graph, increase in pizza, that is we can white intersect is smaller than the original budget constraint line because the price of pizza goes high. So the slope is get flatter. Meanwhile, the decrease of income just a parallel move inward move, and the area shrinks. So the constraint choice is given indifference curve, which is your which is where your utility holds in the sand, and the budget constraint line. That means you have a certain amount of money you would like to spend. So we said MRS equals to MRT is where your willingness to trade one good of another for another is equal what the market tells you to trade. So it's about utility maximization. So the slope of the indifferent curves equals to the slope of budget constraint line. Yeah, which is MRS equals to MRT, max utility at point of tangent. Yeah. So what about point A? At point A, your willingness to trade one good for another is very high. The slope is steeper. So MRS is greater than MRT. So more willingness to trade to make a trade than the market forces. Okay, so here's the first food stamps. I'm not gonna talk about that. Just positive analysis because just like a policy, the American government give a course to their food stamp and they can to spend the food stamp for food in order to live in. So yeah, that's an example. The next lecture for we're going to derive demand curves. We have yeah, right, derive a demand curve. So here is a setup. We have utility function and indifference curve, and we have a budget constraint line. Two unknowns and two equation. We set the MRS equals to MRT, and we find what the cookie and what the beta is. Okay, so the budget constraint is this, and how to derive the demand curve, because the demand curve is in the market. Every consumers have a different budget constraint. I have a different indifferent function. So what you need to do is to, if the price increases and we get a bundle, price decreases, we get another bundle. So just get as much points as we can. So eventually we can derive the demand curve. Okay. So what's the shape of demand curves? Here is a very important concept is the price elasticity of demand, which is a symbol of epsilon. Is basically um, here is the the quantity changes and the derive and over the quantity. It's a quantity change and it's a price change rate. And here it's just simply a concept of how sensitive the consumers are toward to the prices. And this kind of sensitivity will be affected on quantity they produce. So for example, if they are very sensitive to the prices, so the retail prices, so let's assume that the prices goes up 1%, and they are very the consumers are very sensitive to prices change. So their their quantity change, they may just the quantity of their purchasing may reduce 3%. So that is minus 3 of epsilon. So just just a concept of how the consumers are sensitive to the price change. Okay. Yeah, as we mentioned before, we have perfect in elastic demand and perfect elastic demand. So I'm gonna talk about that. We have been discussed. So also we have the price elasticity of demand. We also have income shifts. That is income elasticity of demand. The symbol is the angle curves slope, the slope of angle curve. Actually, just this is price change. Now it's income change. So angle curve is the relationship between income and the quantity you purchase. If if the if the good is normal goods, then the slope of angle curve greater than zero, and we can derive the two category even more detailed. It is an if the angle curve slope is between 0 and 1, it's necessities. That means um today your income increases, but your portion of these goods are decreases. So it's necessities. Okay. On the other hand, if the angle curves um slope is greater than 1, that is luxury goods. As your income increases, you pay the more portion of your money on luxury. And we have an inferior goods, that is the angle curve slope is less than 0. That means today your income increases, you purchase loss, like potatoes or something. That's uh, lends inferior goods. Okay, so yeah, here is a very important effect of two important effects. It's substitution effect. It's how much a quantity changes given constant utility function. That means you're holding the same amount of utility, and how will the price changes to affect your bundle, your distribution of these two items. And we have income effect. Income effect is it's depend on whether this goods is normal goods or inferior goods. If a normal goods, we have more income, we buy more. If a if a, if it's inferior goods, if we earn more, we buy less. Okay, so how to measure these two kind of effects? We have now we have BC1 and BC2. That's two different types of budget constraint. Because if we want to measure these two kind of effect, absolutely we have two different budget constraints. So now the original budget constraint is BC1, and it's a tangent to an indifference curve. But now it's no longer true. How to measure this? The first is we find the tangent, and we measure the MRS and MRT. So we just draw an imaginary budget curve which is parallel to the new budget constraint line, which is BC2, and the tangent to the indifference curve, which is the original we tangent at A, and the new we tangent at B. So from A to B, that is substitution effect. That means the cookies prices increases, and you consume less cookies, more pizza. You're given a holding same utility. Yeah, because you are at the same indifferent cost. And the B2C is income effect because actually it's an imaginary budget constraint line. So we don't have this kind of we don't have this kind of budget to buy that kind of things. So we actually can't buy at point C given a certain amount of budget. So B2 B2C is income effect income effect. Now another very special good is given goods, which is the price increase, the demand also increase because it's too inferior. The income effect is greater than substitution effect. It's very rare. Okay, let's fall into this chart. Just a simple review of what leads to effect of food, a good. If a normal good, the price increase and the substitution effect is always opposite of the price direction. So price increases, the substitution, the quantity decreases. Now um because it's more expensive, you want to pay less. You want to pay less of it. And the income effect also pay less. The total is decreases, which is the same when the price decreases. Now for the inferior goods, if the price is increases, the substitution also decreases, but the income effect increases because inferior goods that means the price increases. That means you are relatively poor and you want so it's so for the inferior goods if you're poor you need to buy more, so income effect is goes to increases. So one is decreases, one is increases, the total effect we don't know. Okay, what's the recitation here is finding optimal bundle. How to find the optimal bundle? Just set MRS equals to MRT and plug in budget constraint line. Okay, so that's all about the demand, and we quickly reviewed. We discussed in different curve which revealed people's preferences and the utility function. MRS of the slope of inverse curve and the types of utility function. Budget constraint line, which is downward sloping MRT. Market told you to change and how to do the profit bundle maximization is utility maximization is to find where MRS equal to MRT, and we shape of demand curve is stick to price elasticity of demand. We have income shifts, which is how to angle curve. It's how we differentiate goods from normal goods to inferior goods. And the effects of price change, we have substitution effect and the income effect. And this chart, you need to remember it. Okay, so that's all about demand. Thank you for listening, and see you next lecture.